So if you're wondering, how does Daniela get such great guests? If you really want to know, it's that I hound them. Well, at least Robyn Youkilis. I hound them for 2 years straight, essentially. The night before I launched this podcast, by the way, is the first day I met you, Robyn. And I was like totally in love. Like, I didn't even know who you were, but I was like, this bitch is...
She's a little extra.
She's got sparkle. And then I looked you up and you have sparkle and depth all at once. And then so basically, guys, no, really, if you're really wondering how we do talent outreach. So I ran into you again and I made myself known. I said, hi.
Okay. She did.
Somehow I got your email address, which great. Good for me. And then it was just one email after another for 2 years straight. By the way, with Laura Lucetti, who is our executive producer. We're all big fans.
I love you all.
So you need to know, everybody who's listening, if they don't come the first time, you try them a second time. You try them a 12th time. And then here we are.
And here we are at
today.
The exact time we were meant to come together to do this. So.
They say, B'sha'a tova, time itself is holy. And we are in a holy time. We finally got our Robyn Youkilis here, the hot mama herself.
Thank you. I'll take that.
2-time best-selling author.
Did that.
Pretty badass business lady. And something that is almost the most impressive thing about you, besides your outfit, she's wearing a really nice tracksuit. I hope you guys can see it. Is that you have a lot of fun, even as a mom of 2, and you make it a priority to have fun. I want to get into that, but before we do, Robyn is going to guide us in a grounding meditation, which she does with her groups, and you know what? If we got the goods, we better just share them, don't you think?
Let's use what we got.
Okay. All right. So you can have eyes open or closed, whatever's safest. Enjoy, my friends.
Ah, yes. I need this, so I do it wherever I go, anywhere I go, without shame. I'm meditating everywhere. My Uber drivers are like, huh? I'm like, I can't hear you. I have my music in. So let's just take 1 minute for this because we deserve it. So as Daniela said, you can close your eyes or you can do this with them open. And right before I prompt or do or invite anything, just a couple breaths for you, with you. Noticing yourself, your own you-ness, your own inner light. It's already present there without doing anything. Now let's see if we can take that up a notch. Let's take some deep breaths and out and connect to that inner light that we are calling upon. See if you can grow it and expand it and extend it with each deep breath and each slow, soft, full exhalation. What does it look like to you to expand, to light up the room, to light up the universe? Feeling that sparkle within each and every single one of us. Let's breathe twice together as a collective before we come back. Breathing in and breathing out. One more in. And one more out. If your eyes are closed, you can slowly invite them open. Feel into this moment of you being you, exactly where you are. Thanks for that opportunity.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. It's crazy how quickly things shift, right?
3 breaths. 3 breaths. I didn't have time to do a full meditation today. I was in full frantic mode. I sent a little selfie because I'm all dolled up.
She does look great.
Thank you.
Did we mention that?
You know, I take the call seriously. Took 2 years, so I was like, you know, we better
take the 12 or 13 calls.
So I sent a little selfie to my husband on the way here. I wrote 44 and frazzled, like not bad for 44 and frazzled. And I definitely had one of those mornings where my toddler was all over me. all the emails, the WhatsApps, everything coming in from my kids' school, all the things to do and to be and to show up for. So I didn't get the meditation, but what I did do was sit at the end of my bed and take 3 deep breaths with hand over heart, hand over belly, remind myself I'm me and that I've got this. And then I went on with all the things, and here we are.
Yeah.
So thank you for that a little more intentional, longer time to do that for me. And I hope it helped you too, but
it really did.
We're
it
here
really did.
So I can do it too.
So I do have the pleasure of being your friend for these past 2 years, your friend and your casual stalker. And whatever, I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure.
I love you. You make me feel so good.
Good.
You play the compliment game like no one I've ever met. It's amazing. Thank you.
You know what? Actually, in my parent-teacher conferences, my son, they say that he's a real up builder. He's always like, that was great. That was great. That was a great shot. And he's always like, and they were saying a few things. They were like, you spelled that real good. And I thought, I think he got that from me because I really,
That's nice.
I just say the thing out loud, like we're all thinking it, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
And
that got you, babe.
Thank you. So I've been doing my research on you as a fan, and I'm so sort of tickled by this I don't know, this dance you do between like kind of like fairy like party girl business, and I don't know if it's superficial. It's not superficial. But it's bright.
It's serious.
Yeah. And then this like real depth of like Earth Mother and Space Holder. We actually had a beautiful event together, a Jewish healing event, which shifted a lot for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
But you do dance between the two, and I'm not sure that there's that. I don't think there's a middle. Is there a middle?
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Were you
Much to my husband's chagrin, because he's like, it's nuanced and gray. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really see it that way. I either have a very strong opinion or I'm quiet until I do have one.
Yeah, but you see things in Technicolor.
I do.
Essentially.
I do.
Were
that was
you
a
always
great
like
era. I was like, loved all those old films and everything. So, you know what? It's funny because I'm a Libra and I'm actually a double Libra. And so I think I've always had this duality in me and the strive for balance between both. And I see the gray area more as the harmony between the two and not necessarily living in the middle, but more really feeling and fully embodying the bright, the sharp, the light, the day, and then also feeling and grounding into the dark and the night and the moon of all of it. And my practice is really leaning into exactly where I am in that moment and not judging it or trying to shift it or saying one is better than the other.
Yeah. And something that I know about you is that you also are like this, like, you take fun very seriously.
I do.
In a way.
It's my biggest self-care practice. Everyone's like, why do you look so great? I'm like, I have a really good time.
Getting dressed.
and in life, like I always know what the next concert is on the calendar, what the next big event. I call it fun with a big F or fun with a little f. So the big F's are like Coachella for me, or big summer trip or something like that, or a full day of self-care. And then the little F's are just the ways that I sprinkle it in daily or weekly. And so I take that as my highest practice of self-care.
The fun. And you make sure that you plan for it. It's not easy to do with 2 kids.
It's the hardest thing.
It is so hard, Robyn.
It's insane.
Can you walk us through it?
Yes, we're exhausted. We're tired. The last thing we want to do is like go out or, I love all those memes that are like, I love my earlier self that felt like I could deliver on this at 8 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. you're like, I am cooked. And you know what? I am cooked at 8 p.m. most nights, but I plan for this fun like you cannot imagine. It is weeks in planning. I cover this in my coaching programs because I am that serious, and we do need that much training about it. So for example, if I know, let's say I'm going to see a DJ.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a DJ soon, Sultan and Shepherd. Cannot wait. And I've already not just booked the babysitter, but I booked the babysitter for 2 to 3 hours before.
Oh my God.
It's go time.
Did everyone hear that?
Yeah.
I actually think that was the one oh my God.
Yeah.
2 to 3 hours before so that you can What?
All the things, whatever. Do nothing. Play around on my phone. Do legs up the wall. Potchkey around in my room. Pull out outfits and decide I hate it all. Like, I just want time to just like romance in the silliness of me and the process. And that makes me feel like myself. It makes me have more fun when it's the actual night. In reality, yes, there's a dose of that, but also I might go for a walk. I might go to yoga. I might call a girlfriend. I don't know. I might eat a meal, whatever it is. But knowing that that lead up time is part of the experience. I cannot just drop in on a dime. It's not always possible, but like, yeah, most babysitters love to come at 4.
I have to say thank you for that.
That's just one little thing.
I never even considered it, or if I do, you know, I get the babysitter a little bit earlier if I have a show. If I'm the one performing, I need to warm up, I need to get ready, I need to da. But I don't necessarily carve out that time for fun.
Right.
But fun is your job.
Fun's my job, and teaching it is like why part of a big reason why I'm here. And so carving out that extra time, knowing what I'm going to wear, making it like I spend a lot of my time giving myself permission to buy something that I love. Like this outfit, for example, was like, well, I have a podcast recording and I've got an event later this week. And it's like, I even need to talk myself into that permission. But like, if you don't have something in your wardrobe you feel great about, even for a night out, a girls' night, give yourself permission to go and get it until you find it. And if you need more inspiration, of course, like social media, Pinterest, whatever it is, DM me, you know, I'll help you out and tell you if I'm into it or not. But like giving ourselves some freedom to play, even when we have little kids, grown kids, all these needs, all these demands on our time.
This is our life.
This is our life. And I really fully believe like every day, like, am I living the shit out of my life?
Do you really question that?
I do. And it comes back to, get a little serious for a sec here, but I lost my father to cancer when I was 17, turning 18. And my dad was this big, bright light. And I always felt like the best way I could honor him was really like living the shit out of my life for me, not for him. It wasn't for him and his memory. I knew him, like I could hear him saying, for you.
Yeah.
Like really for you. And in part of my journey from my 20s was living that in not so healthy and
totally. That's living. I mean,
supportive ways, but letting
we have
myself
to remind
do
ourselves
that.
as parents, by the way, that's just part of individuating. That's just part of life.
That is part of life.
As long as you're not like dangerous.
Right. Well, it did get a little dangerous.
I mean, it
did. There's been a couple of arrests in there. I've never really talked to that.
Youkilis!
Oh, when I go hard and big, I'm not messing around. And then, you know, what that looked like in my 30s. And I think really, am I living the shit out of my life? What that looks like for me in my 40s now is seeing how I am doing that when I am taking a nap. Mm-hmm. And how I'm doing that when I'm going out to see a DJ. Mm-hmm. And that it's both, and really celebrating, honoring, rejoicing, all of that.
You know, sounds like fun in and of itself is your spiritual practice, like the fermented foods,
the meditation,
the
biomats and sauna blankets and all the things. But yeah.
And the being priming your body and your business to be able to have fun is almost, it is a spiritual experience for you. Yeah. And for your clients as well?
Yeah. So it's when I get my best ideas, when everything drops in. And I really fully believe like my job is to be as me as humanly possible. That's when my business flows. That's when the messages come through. That's when I'm so clear on how I can support my community and my clients coming to me. Mm-hmm. When I make a little bit of that space in a fun container to hear what's for me and what's for them, and to really allow myself to like be with it and not talk myself out of it, because I can talk myself out of a lot of things.
Oh, I mean, me too.
Right? It's why it's like, that's not that big a deal, or that's not that important to somebody. And one thing I appreciate and love so much about you is like, you really tell me, no, Robyn, like that is important. I'm like, oh, whatever. It's just a little, I am a work in progress. I'm not making myself small, even though you're hearing all this stuff. This is me practicing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they say that you teach what you most need to learn. Yeah. And I can only imagine what the people who are enrolled in Hot Mama and who you coach, like the resistance. I don't actually know I don't know what it is. Is it because there's a lot of laundry, or because it's expensive, or like there are a lot of different things up against fun.
I think we're in a bridge moment between of how it was and how it's going to be. And so it's a lot more work to get up and over that bridge to see what's on the other side and how we're paving a new way. Because I think that old 50s, 60s, 70s narrative, and then you're thinking about the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, like this is a different moment for women to rise up and claim who they are and say, I will not burden that. I will not shoulder that, but I don't know how not to.
Right. I don't know how not to.
Right. And so we are the generation of changing that. And I think we have to give ourselves some grace that it's not something entirely new yet.
Or done yet.
Yeah. And so to me, it looks like small and big things, like that daily practice of tuning in is, does my life look the way I want it to? Do I have things on the calendar that light me up? How am I putting myself first today? And I'm a mom and I'm still putting myself first. And I think even that is a new, bold, scary conversation to have.
What were those questions? So it was.
Oh, I have no idea what I just said. That's the thing about I never know. I'm like, great. I'm so glad you got it on
You're
camera.
channeling. You're channeling. No, I'm underlining.
This is 15 years of content I've been putting out there and creation and sharing and teaching and coaching that I'm like, I have no idea, but great.
Well, it's like.
Did I distract you too much? Did we forget? Shall I help you?
No, I'm trying to. I'm working here. Okay, Robyn. Okay,
you got a good brain. You got a good noggin there.
Well, am I living my life to the fullest, essentially? And you said something. Am I? I don't know. Now I lost
With
it.
some daily practice of tuning in and saying, does my life feel like me? And I also want to honor your listeners and community. If you don't know what's fun for you right now, I completely understand. Like if we think of fun, we often think of like debauchery when we were young and like, you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like that doesn't sound good. And so we've spent so much of our time like hitting these goals, professional, personal life, that the fun happens or there's a sprinkling or it's an invitation, but it doesn't often come from us and our spirit and our souls. And so that's a lot of the work that I do. You mentioned my coaching program. I have a coaching program called Hot Mama, and it's to help women prioritize fun in their life no matter what chapter or season that they're in. And a lot of what we do in there is tuning into what is fun for you right now. Do you need to give yourself full permission to allow that? And let's get it on the calendar now. Like, let's get real practical.
Right. So here's the thing. Like, I think of myself as a fun person.
You are a fun person.
Yeah. But I don't have enough of the planning. Here's where your groundedness comes in. Here's where grounding comes in, and prioritizing and really honoring that, like, I only have this one life. So you make sure to put it on the calendar. Everything gets put on the calendar and on the shared calendar.
Yep. There's multiples. There's personal calendar, there's my team calendar, and there's the Robyn plus Scott calendar.
Okay.
Yeah. And I call them, well, I put everything on the calendar, but then my husband and I have weekly, what I have coined countertop conversations, because I love to linger in the kitchen. And I'm like, he's like, I'm going to retire to the couch. I'm like, I'm glad that works for you. I'm going to stand here and, again, potchkey around a little bit in the kitchen.
But we'll chat.
But we'll go over the week. And I like doing the kitchen because that's like, it feels homey to me and it feels less business-like,
Yeah, or like confrontational.
Yeah, exactly. It has a sweetness and a softness to it. And so it's just reviewing our weeks and saying, what do you need this week to feel like you? What do I need this week to feel like me? And my requests are often one shift on the weekend where I can do the meditation, the journaling, and the workout and a sweat all in a row.
Okay.
So that's usually something like a 3-hour window. And so I'll ask for that. When can that happen? Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. I have to be flexible with when, right? I might not get it in the first shift of the day, and that's fine. Or I need to sleep, whatever it is. Often for him, he's like, I just need a couple hours to go to the office so I can feel ready for my week. And that's like, I could judge him for that and be like, oh God, but like, that's him. Like you do,
I know
that's,
Dan is the same way. Like his fun really is working.
That
and
is same
I can't actually like
Scott,
pathologize him. Like he enjoys it.
Same with my husband. And like, so, but if he can do that with like full ownership and pride and like knowing like, you go do that, honey, I got things. And so it's just this shakeout of personal needs, then what we need, and then what do we have that's fun coming? Like we've known about going to see this DJ to go see Salt and Shepherd for like a month and a half, 2 months now.
Which actually
Something
is
like
great
that.
for your mental health because you're like, I'm looking forward to something.
Exactly. And then coming back to earlier, having the babysitter come earlier in the night, pre-planning. So I'm also plan out the next couple of days. Like I will do a kid swap. Like we'll take kids once, like I've friends' kids on Saturday so we can give them our children on Sunday.
Great.
I'm like, it's a 2-movie day.
Great.
Like you are going to be tired after most likely some version of a fun night out. Even if you're in ceremony drinking cacao, you're going to be a little buzzed from that and you're going to likely go to bed later and it's going to like sleep into your dreams, and not necessarily a bad way, a good way, but you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
You're going to need some time to process the next day. You can put your parenting in low gear.
Right.
Super low gear.
And they'd be very happy with that.
And they're fine with it. But it's, to me, it's the intention behind it. It's, I know I'm going to be doing this. I'm owning it. I'm giving myself permission instead of I really should be taking the kids to the park today or doing this. And like, I'm not. And I feel like a bad person. And then it diminishes you wanting to do it again. And it's like, all good.
Not good.
Keep going.
And then also going into the next couple of weeks, like I know one night like that, I will be tired for at least a week, if not 2 weeks. And so I will look at the calendar again. Here we are, and make sure it's a lighter week, at least in the first, few days. And I will lighten it as much as possible and give myself time to replenish and reharmonize. And so understand, if you're someone, you've got a lot on your plate, you've got the kiddos, whatever it is that's demanding your time, you will need time to recuperate, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just go into it with eyes wide open. And yes, wild cards can happen and extra things can, kid can be homesick the next day and you just do the best you can. But I think this like push-pull duality within us that we're fighting ourselves and our desires and what we deserve to have in our lifetime is what's exhausting us more than the 2 a.m. bedtime. I know I just said a lot. Let's take a breath. Here we are again.
Yeah. I'm struggling with myself because, there is this part of me that wants to just let everyone know what an amazing mom you are. But I'm also questioning why I need to say that. Because,
tell me more.
Well, there's this idea that, and I think it's really old and stupid, that we have to be around our kids all the time. How could we be around our kids all the time if you're taking the trip, if you're going to,
if you're little for once?
And I don't subscribe to it, but the urge to let everyone know that you somehow have like RISE certification and are actually really present in your kid's life is, well, on one hand, it's very impressive. You are very present in your kid's life. Like you're at the pickup and your entrepreneurial calendar is sort of set to be a mom of 2 and to be there.
In this chapter of my life, yeah.
But then there's another part of me that's like, am I apologizing for fun? And that's my own stuff.
I get it. You want everybody to know, like, she also is this, just in case anybody was like, well, what about the kids and what are they doing when they're plopped in front of the television? And it's so funny that we all have our places where we care what people think about us. I care zero.
Oh, the chills.
What people think about me and my parenting. I mean, I don't think I've ever vocalized that. I am so confident in how present I am and connected with them, their souls, their growth, my purpose. Part of that might be that I've always, first of all, my intuition is crazy loud. I said this in other places. I see things, I hear things, I know things. And when I gave birth to my first child, my daughter Navy, 8 years ago, I had this overwhelming sense of I really was just the vessel, that she was this light being coming through, and it was my job to ground her and hold space for her and parent and love her. But she was really her own light being, very, very separate from me. She was not a mini me. Everybody says she's a mini me. She looked just like me, but I never say that. No shame to anybody that does. But it was so clear, crystal clear from my own intuitive voice what she was and what my role was with her. And I think that helped give me a healthy sense of like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to be the sun and the stars and the moon and get everything right for this child.
That's not my job.
It's just not my job. And I think I've just always been so clear with that. And now with my second, Dover, who's now 2.5, nearing on 3, she feels like she came from the earth and she has been here before. And she just looks at us, just waiting to catch up, this one. And she's just our little like Buddha. Last night, I raised my voice. I got real hot about something. Not at my husband, but it was, a back and forth with him. And she is a daddy's girl through and through. She is his gift. I had her for him. And it's fine. I'm cool with that.
They actually look identical.
They look identical, and he really needed her and all the things. And this is what she did. She takes my face in her hands, one hand on each cheek. She goes, look at me. Look at me. Look at me, mommy. Mommy, look at me. I love daddy so much. Please don't yell at daddy. I love daddy so much. Please look at me. Look at me with those little balmy, pudgy 2.5-year-old hands straight in the eye. And I'm like, I wanted my like Libra archetype self. I don't want to be like, I wasn't yelling at daddy. I was just getting heated. It wasn't at him. And I was like, I hear you. Thank you for reminding me that. I love daddy too so much.
Wow.
So all to come back to the sense of, I guess I have this just deep knowing of my role in their lives. And also that same practice that I practice around when I'm in the fun, be in the fun. And when I'm with my kids, be with the kids. And that's part of what's also so great about that RIE method, parent education, is that, do the work you need to do in the home. And then when you're with the kid, you're with the kid. And I think that helped really just shape that sense of like, I'm with you right now. Of course things come up. Of course my phone blows up on certain days. And I communicate that. I'm so sorry right now, Navy. I wanted to be with you and I need to take care of something for the next 10 minutes or so. Can you hang and be cool and do your thing? And I'll be with you soon. I just have this calm clarity of communication with them about my needs, what I'm available for, what I'm not. And that's how we live. I don't know, most days when it's good. There's a lot of days when it's total shit, but most of the time.
But you also know that that's part of it.
Totally.
In a way that I don't know that in a way that I sort of want to remind whoever's listening who doesn't know that that's part of it.
Hello, friends.
You had Navy when you were 36?
36, and my second at 41.
Yeah.
On a 5-year age gap, intentional 5-year age gap.
And they're pretty close.
They're so cute together. But I ended up with 2 Jewish, red hair, blue-eyed children.
Yeah.
Not just once, but twice.
My husband actually has red hair and green eyes.
Wild.
I know. It's a crazy
like,
thing.
Who are you? Where did you come from? And then I birthed them.
Perfect.
Anyway, so yes.
You should sell them to Hollywood. That was my plan.
I thought about it,
But then, they don't
a lot of work for us.
It's so much work.
I know.
There is, by the way, an episode on Mom Curious about being a momager, and she works her ass off. And I don't know. I thought I would have redheaded children because Dan's a redhead and I love redheads, and they both turned out to be brunettes, and I love them anyway.
Right. We'll keep them.
They're
perfect for us.
Fine. Your relationship with Scott is really cool.
It's
and I think it's
funny
like
one.
It's a funny.
It is a funny one. I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's funny.
I think you might as well.
But I want you to hold your thought. But I went on the podcast recently, and she asked me, she's like, well, when do you plan your time for both you and Scott? And I was like, I don't know, it goes later on the list.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
The DJ?
Yes. But like, I really do think me first, then the family unit. And then I think I'm really good at running multiple scripts in my head. You do this as a podcast host, right? As an actress, you're like, you've got the script, then the character, and then the you, and then all these layers. And I was an actress as a kid, and I think I'm trained in that, like, I can see the multiple lines. And so I feel like I have an awareness of holding that line with my husband and I. I'm like, okay, are we dipping a little low? Do we need to go back in and a little deeper? And it looks different for us than most traditional couples. Like I always say, we navigate this space in between because we're not these like off the grid wanderlust living in India Burning Man couple.
Yeah, but you did.
But we're also not this traditional. We both are entrepreneurs. We live in an apartment in the city. We travel like crazy. He's been to 200 Fish shows. I've been to 100. We've been to 11. I've been to 11 Coachella. So he'll say he's been to 15. Like it's 10. It'll be 11 this year. But you
bond on that.
We do bond on that. But I hold it in the highest esteem. But I sort of interjected. What were you going to say?
I
But
was
it's
just
just
curious
funny
about your
that people,
relationship.
I know.
Because I do
I get a little stumbly here around the husband part. It's funny. It's a funny
it's
topic
all
for
kind
me.
of funny because for anyone who doesn't know the format of this show, I'm just like poking at all my curiosities. Like you come in here and you're like, hey, nice to be here. We've known each other for a while. And now I'm like at literally everything I ever wanted to know about Robyn Youkilis. She's sitting down. I have 45 minutes and I'm going.
Yes, please. Okay.
Anyway, that's why people get fumbly.
Prepared.
No, that is why people get fumbly because I'm curious about the inner workings, and I think the inner workings are private. Some things are just private.
I do, out of respect for he and I do not air our dirty laundry.
Yeah.
I do not share when I don't feel it's shareable.
I think that's great.
Or when I don't feel stable in self or self-regulated. And what I will share is, because I have shared this before and I feel comfortable, is Scott and I are, I don't want to call it a bumpy relationship, but we are like, we're not smooth sailing.
I mean,
we're not.
Neither.
We're not even moderate sailing. We're one of those couples that I really think came together to like do the work. And we've been through a lot.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot.
Well, you're living big lives. I mean, you guys like
complicated, messy.
Yeah, but also just like ambitious.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I see you flying to Italy with like tiny, tiny babies, and I think I can't do that.
Italy, Ibiza. We're like on the island for 2 weeks.
You're not taking this lying down. No. And I think like, there's something to be said about why people, decide to like live more conventional or smooth lives. Is because like when you are getting on the plane with a baby to Ibiza, you're probably gonna want to yell at each other.
Yeah, and we do sometimes. Yeah,
when you're like not whatever,
creates a lot of messes, more messes than necessary. It does
create a lot of messes. It has
chaos.
To. So
yeah,
I think knowing that you can navigate those messes is a big gift. And that, by the way, like living is your priority. You had that big download at 17, that living is your priority and that living is messy and that relationships are messy.
Yeah.
Actually, how was that Ibiza trip with the 2 little babies?
We've done it. We did it. It's okay. So this is a great example of things shifting. So in the last couple of years, it was really important to me to hold on to that, like, no, Ibiza is a priority and I want to go and I want to put on the outfits and go to the, events and see the music and be at the clubs and then spend the day at the beach with my kids and like do that and enjoy it. And it was manageable the last couple of years. I will say this. So we pick places where we know there's going to be a kids camp or a camp for my oldest. Yep. Or there's some kind of like hefty kids programming. And then also we will often travel with our nanny. We have a wonderful, flexible nanny who's been with us since the beginning, since Navy was 4 months old. And she'll come with us and, be a constant for the kids' lives. And we've done that the last 2 years. And funny, my 2-year-old, when she was sliding from the like 2 into 2.5, everything started to change. Even though she had these wonderful calm Buddha moments, we know anyone with little toddlers, there's a turnover.
Oh my God.
There's a turnover, and the turnovers happen since this past fall. We're now in winter into spring now. And I was like, we are not going to Ibiza this summer.
It would not be pleasurable.
It would not be enjoyable.
No.
And I don't want to fight uphill against that. I'm not here to say, this is who I am. I'm here to say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I can respect myself enough and our boundaries and our limits enough to know that would not be capital fun. Capital FUN for us this summer, because she's now in a stage where she's staying up till 10 o'clock at night some nights. We sometimes skip the nap. We don't know what's happening. She's in, went from 2 tantrums a day to 5 to 7 tantrums a day. I said to my nanny this morning, she was trying to get socks on her, I think. But I was like, oh, Shanta, just get her in the stroller. You'll figure it out on the street. I don't care if just to remind you, because she knows this, but I have to remind her because she has her own standards. I don't care if she has socks on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Put her in the bunting.
Just get her in the bunting. She hates the bunting.
We have a big. So she's cold.
We have a right. So she's cold. I remember once seeing
not going to die from the New York winter.
She's going to be okay. I remember once seeing this woman on the street with her child in a stroller, like a 1-something-year-old with no socks and no shoes. And it was a cold, bitter winter day. And I remember looking at her being like, how could she? And now I'm like, of course.
I know.
Of course. I know how she could. Like, she couldn't get the kid out of the house and they have to be somewhere. So anyways, my point is, it's also this constant tuning in. So, right? So time with self, clarity with self, space for self to know what would feel supportive, what would not. We're still going to have a great summer, but I know this summer and probably maybe next until she's in the next season, which is more like 4 or 5, when she chills the F out a little bit.
Yeah, just a little
bit. That we can go back to Ibiza.
Where would
Ibiza will be there. You know what I'm not compromising on? Coachella. But I had to fight for that. And I often do have to fight for that most years. Even though my husband loves it. I'm not outing him with this. He loves it.
This is normal. This is okay.
It's a pain in the butt. Like, Passover is always around it. Scheduling with the family. It's getting harder with the grandparents. You know, as we get older, it is a hard, big ass thing to handle. And I
physically.
have to, physically. And I'm taking out for 2 weeks, but it is worth it to me. And I have this practice of tuning in. Is this what I really want? Is this worth it to me? And I hear the voice, yes, let it be easy, let it be light. And so with that, in the relationship, even though I know he's a music freak, he's going to have the best time there, I do have to be the one to say, it's going to be okay. I talked to your mom. She's going to come Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
We got this. Shanta's going to stay over. Our nanny. We've got this. I will arrange a play date for her on Saturday and Sunday. Yes. Am I taking most of the burden and the load? Yes. Does that feel cool? And he gets to just show up? No. But does he take the burden of the load other ways? Yes. Did he book the hotel? Did he book the flights?
And he's there.
Is he handling the tickets?
I have to tell you.
Is he taking some time off of work? Yeah.
It's a big deal that he's there. It really is.
Is it? Remind me, because I get really mad.
You'll notice you're the only couple I know who goes to Coachella every year.
There's not a lot of early 40s moms with kids there, and it's for good reason, but I have to. I said they're gonna have to wheel me off those polo fields in a wheelchair one day. I have to.
I love it.
My soul, it's just one thing for me. And that is just, I want to, like, for everyone listening, like, that is just one representation of it for me. And it's very personal. You have a version of that for you.
I mean, music is holy. Mm-hmm. Community is holy.
Just being there in the sunset.
Oh, wow.
And the magic. And I'm just in it. And it's not that someone needs me or anything is like asked of me. I'm just in the joy, that pure, it's like, it's in my bones, it's in my heart, it's in my cells. And like, I get to get dressed up and be creative and be that like ridiculous performative Robyn and like this theatrical, like, you know, last year was such a fun year for me because I had all my Daisy Jones and the 6 inspo and I was wearing glitter and I keep it cool. Like, I'm not just like, trying to keep up. It's my own genuine, true, embodied expression. And for me, that's where it comes out. Some people, it is Burning Man. Some people, it's a girls' weekend. Some people, it's a trip to Canyon Ranch to go to the spa, or a day by yourself.
Just a day by yourself.
A day by yourself is like, what is that holy expression of that day by yourself for you? And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Let this be your reminder, your tip off to spend time with it and say, I'm going to prioritize exploring what that could look like for me. And also, one thing I like to teach is you're going to try it. Maybe it'll be a bust. Maybe give yourself permission to be like, well, I didn't like that. We forget that, like, oops, like, oops, that wasn't great. Kids oops 1,000 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so taken with how you haven't lost yourself in motherhood. And I think a lot of people think about that certainly in terms of fun and in terms of coolness. But also in career. Mm-hmm. But did you ever feel like you were lost in motherhood?
I definitely have had waves where I want to say this. I had children later in life. So
yes.
So
we established.
I had a good dose of like reality of what it was going to be like. I knew it wasn't going to be Pinteresty. I knew the house was going to be a mess, and the laundry and the poop diapers. Like, the best advice anybody ever told me was to get a stack of 20 onesies. And when they have an explosion in the first month, you cut it off of them and you throw it away.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so silly, but like, yeah.
That's great advice. I've never heard that one. It's
brilliant.
It's brilliant.
And I only did it like 2 or 3 times, but just knowing I could do it those 2 or 3 times that I didn't have to, like, here I am scrubbing or this or that. Early on, I knew it was going to be. So I didn't have a nanny in the first few months. I didn't actually want that kind of support. Second time, my God, I moved a baby nurse in. I needed all the support.
Yeah.
But I actually I was very close at the time with my housekeeper. And I booked her 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
I booked her 3 times in a week because I knew where my limit was. The mess was a problem for me. So she came in and helped with that. So I want to say, I think I went into it with a little bit more eyes wide open. But the moments when I felt like I was losing myself was more like when I felt I was going through a change or a shift, or there was a new version of me birthing and I wasn't quite there yet. I wasn't the old me. I wasn't the new me, but I didn't know what it was. And when I'm in that in between, that's when I feel, here we are again, the gray, right? The two.
Yes. And you don't like it because that's not like that's not your true nature.
Right. I want to know. It's like, okay, if I'm clear on what's next or what's coming, then I can settle into the now and trust that it will come when it's ready. But when I don't have the vision yet or the clarity, and I'm in this, like, I am in the mess and I'm over the mess. Like, so really the gift is, okay, I'm in the mess. I know I'm going to be in the mess the first 40 days or whatever. Be in it, relish in it, rejoice in it. Cool. But then when I start to emerge from that, but I'm not in this, like, I don't have the hang of it yet.
Yeah.
Of my life with baby and breastfeeding and everything I was doing and being a mom, until I was in that new flow, that for me is when I feel like I'm, not that I lost myself, just a general of like, who am I? She's not here yet. And I get all squidgy in the waiting.
Yeah. The waiting is weird. That waiting it's like the most vulnerable time. Your body is recuperating.
Totally.
But I do think it can happen at any point.
It can. That's just my
And with
experience.
2, it could happen.
Oh, the 2 was I got my ass
1
handed
to
to me.
2.
I got my ass. My 1 to 2, just so y'all know, first was like, I was home, baby on the boob. I'm watching Sex in the City. I'm eating. I'm like, this is great, you know? And the second, I was like, I suffered from postpartum depression.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did. I don't talk about it a lot, but
we're here and we're doing the thing.
There was a lot of times staring out the window in like complete dullness.
Oh, was that the first time you had experienced depression?
No.
Wow.
But my depression was more, it came from anxiety, which then the antidote to that felt like depression, where this was it wasn't anxious. I wasn't anxious. It was this dullness within me that, like, I didn't even know I was, but I knew I wasn't feeling, but I didn't know a way out of it.
So many people experience that.
So many people. So let's talk about this. My experience at having my second at 41 was wildly different, hormonally speaking, emotionally speaking, mentally prepared, all of it. And I remember I experienced a lot of rage towards my first.
Oh my God, so much rage. Me too. And oh God. I've just said, I love that kid so much.
It was
so
hard.
Weird. It was so, I guess it was hormonal.
It's a deep
and
protection.
towards the dog. Oh my God.
Yeah. Here we are.
God.
So if you're feeling that, it's a deep protection of the first. It was me feeling out of control in her behavior.
Of the baby.
Yeah, the baby. Sorry, the baby.
Yeah.
Forget the first. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. She knows I'm kidding. But I had part of why I had a big age gap because I was like, well, she'll be 5. She'll be so much more mature. They're not. They're still little 5-year-olds having their whole world up. And I think I had a bigger expectation that she was capable of. And I remember having this feeling of, she did some action. She would come on the bed, and it wasn't just her coming on the bed. She'd throw her legs around and it felt out of control. And that's how she was trying to regulate her nervous system. But I remember having this overwhelming sense of wanting to take my full length arm and whack her off the bed.
Yeah, which is like so.
This sweeping remove. I saw it in my head, and I literally covered my head. I go, take Navy away now. And I called my friend.
Relate completely.
Yeah, there's different degrees and varying, I called my friend, who I will not name. And she said, Robyn, I remember she went to a much darker, sadder, serious place and worked with a psychotherapist and was put on medication.
Yeah.
But her call to action was, remember thinking that she wanted to push her first in the pool.
Oh, no.
She had the baby in her arms. And she's like, well, what if I just did? And she's like, oh, I need help.
Yeah.
And I have chills saying it, but I'm saying this because if you get that, it happens.
Yeah.
And I want this to empower you to make the phone call, to get the help, to get the medication if that is what you need, and to know that, like, this isn't you and your heart.
Yeah.
This is a rebalancing. This is a wash and a tornado of hormones and things beyond our control. And it's not within your control, those thoughts, but you absolutely get the help. Tell your partner, tell a friend, tell anyone to deeply help and support you. And I wasn't there, but just hearing her tell me that story, I was like, oh my God, thank you. because I felt like a horrible person.
Yeah.
I didn't see the light. I was like, is this what it's going to be like? And I really lost the light of like, I will get through the other side of this. Again, that I didn't see what the other side was. So she told me, she's like, text me every day and tell me how you're feeling. We'll monitor and see if you feel you need medication. But let's see, just knowing this, what shifts. Get yourself outside more. I wasn't getting outside enough. I was spending too much in the den and I needed to be outside. I needed to tell people what was happening. And another thing I did, my other dear friend, Leslie, is I would sit on FaceTime with her and I would put the phone next to my head and she wouldn't talk and I wouldn't talk and she would just sit there with me.
Wow.
And we would do this for like 45 minutes at a time sometimes.
It's beautiful.
Just for company, because that's all I could manage.
And also it's really what the mother needs is just a loving witness.
Loving witness. And that's what it was.
No one else can do the things we need to do, but we do need to be in community. And I mean, thank God for technology, and there are some drawbacks to the way we're living.
So yeah, so I talked to my husband. He had a hard time understanding. Yeah. You know, because he's trying to manage and he's like, he didn't know that his role would be so much being responsible for our first, to get her to the playground, get her moving, right? That's a big, huge learning curve. And eventually, as you know, it settles and you learn your new way and you learn what you need and what your new non-negotiables are, and you let it shift and you let it change. And I will say this, I felt very like a new buoyant me after 1 year with my first. It took me 2 with my second. From 41 to 43.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just 41 now. And I couldn't, part of that was every time I would go to exercise, I would get injured.
Oh,
I couldn't move faster. Breastfeeding didn't work for her so well. It was like chugging to the finish line at 1 year old. She wasn't interested. She's just a different person. She was an enormous baby and a very challenging delivery. She was almost 10 pounds when she was born.
Oh my God, Robyn.
I know.
The delivery does have a lot to do with, apparently, with the way those first few months or even years are
It was traumatic.
It was
traumatic. We had to get the specialist come in. She was vacuumed on out of me and I was like 1 second away, and the epidural broke. So I did all that. No medication. I was unmedicated with my first by choice. My second, it got too difficult. Obviously it wasn't progressing. She was 10 pounds and I was in labor forever. And I got one and it actually broke. And so I finished that delivery with, I was like, when I had her, they went to hand her to me and I was like limp.
Wow.
And my midwife was like, I've never seen anybody get through what you did to get this baby. And I you know what, I've always known this about myself. I'm like, I have old, tough Russian blood in me. And I know we are Eastern European Jews. And I'm like, if I was in a winter with the water pails on my shoulders and the baby on the front of me, like that would be me. And this is just the very modern version of that.
I have the chills head to toe. Wow.
My family fled the pogroms.
Wow.
And took all the kids and here we are.
And they came to America.
Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Canada. And then there we are with my Canadian blood. My grandpa, God love my grandpa, he would stand outside his 10-gallon hat and his denim jacket and 10 below, smoking cigarettes with no gloves.
Oh my, well, and now we know why your baby doesn't want to put on socks. She's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah.
The
She's
children,
more than
they
fine.
are fine.
Yeah. I mean, and your children particularly, they come from hot blood.
We do. We are good. We're good. And Scott's like, how can you be out and you're fine? I'm like, I'm fine. My daughter, Navy, she's like, I run very warm. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Because so do you, because you're a hot
mama. We can heat in all the ways.
I feel like we got such a hearty meal out of this conversation.
I love a food reference.
I know. You see why I did that?
2-time cookbook.
Actually, do you think that all of your good food really does energize you to live such a big, bold life?
It's all connected.
Yeah.
But mostly it's like my feelings about my good food.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Am I connected? Am I in my body? Am I breathing? Does this feel like what I really want? I always say intuitive eating is taking a pause and saying, what do I want today? What would feel good in this moment? Do I want to hold something? Is that a sandwich? Is that do I need more protein? Do I need more? It's just the food, but to me, it's more, yes, it's the fun, but how am I feeling about the fun? It's this constant tuning in, this coming back practice every day, no matter what. So it extends to, food, to parenting, to entrepreneurship, to friendships, that connection.
Yeah. We were saying that it's hard to pin you down. But I don't know. I feel like this hot mama really is it's a great calling, because you really are like, you're obviously very hot. Did we mention she's wearing a great outfit? Because she's wearing a great outfit. But also you can withstand cold.
There we go.
Just like with like the best.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, but
great grandma.
You are this mama figure. You really are so nurturing to your clients, to your community, to your children. And you're doing it from not a self-sacrificing way.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I really appreciate you mentoring this sort of shift between the old paradigm to the new. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you want to close out with a meditation?
Let's just do a little hand over heart.
Why not?
Just a little connection. Okay.
Robyn Youkilis, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. So if you are safe and able to do so, place hand on heart if that feels good for you. Oh, hi. Yeah. Just hello, self. Hello, heart. Hello, heartbeat. Hello, blood and organs that all beat and run within me, that support me and show up for me and do all this incredible, magical work. Thank you for being an anchor to connecting to me to myself, to my soul, to my spirit, to who I am meant to be in this lifetime. Let's breathe that in. Let's breathe that out. And please know this heart is always here for you. Always. And with all my love to each and every one of you, especially to you, Daniela, I love you.
I love you. So we can find you at Robyn Youkilis on Instagram. Where else is a good place to hit you up?
So my personal speaking page is robynyoukilis.com as well. And then my business, all things Your Healthiest You. Your Healthiest You. That's where you'll find my programs, my meditations, courses, all the goodness. And it's easy to remember. So yourhealthiestyou.com.
Yeah.
And of course, please follow me on IG, but just say hi. Always say hi and how you found me, because I love to personally connect, because that's the whole point. Connecting to self, connecting to all of you, connecting to something greater than us.
Thanks, friends.
Thank you.
I think that's a great, by the way, we connect to me too. I love that.
Ask for what you need. What
Connect
do you
to
need?
Self,
Yeah.
connect to each other, connect to source. Hit me up, guys. Wasn't this so special? Robyn Youkilis, 2 years in the making, worth every single bit of outreach.
We did it.
We did it. Bye, guys. See you in 2 weeks. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniela Rabani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniela Rabani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast. Produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.